After about 4 years of teaching English 101 and 102 plus other classes that require academic style papers and essays, I'm beginning to see something more often than I used to see, and that is paragraphs or entire sections of an essay written with a lot of information in them, but without references to supporting research. And I'm not sure why that's happening. I have some suspicions about why that is happening. One of the things I wonder about is whether the increased use of AI, and I allow AI use in my classes under certain guidelines, is part of the reason why I'm seeing more of this. Because what artificial intelligence tends to do is that it takes a lot of information that it goes out and grabs from the internet and puts it into a paragraph, but it doesn't provide specific citations. And unless you go in after you've used AI to assist you and make sure that all of the information that it's providing is supported with relevant research, you're going to be submitting something that is going to be less than what you want it to be, and less than what I want it to be, and what your other instructors in future classes that we require academic papers and writing will want to see. So I want to provide this reminder and primer on citations, common knowledge, and how to handle the decision and the process on using research. So first of all, let's provide an overview here of why do we cite. And there are basically 4 reasons why we require citations of most information that you're including in an essay or paper. 1, to avoid plagiarism. In other words, if you tell us where information came from, and you got that information from wherever you got it, then if you don't cite it, then you probably could be accused of plagiarism. In other words, you've taken information that you got somehow and you didn't tell us where it came from, and that is essentially plagiarism. So that's one reason why we cite. Secondly, a lot of people are doing a lot of heavy lifting to do research, to provide data, to write about theoretical concepts, and when they do that heavy lifting and then we use some of that information, we need to tell our readers where it came from. That's just respect for the work that other people are doing. It's no different in many respects from, you just wouldn't walk up to somebody's house and take a bicycle and ride away with it. It's the same kind of thing. This is their intellectual property. Third, it's to provide evidence. We want your readers to believe you. And the best way to do that is say, here's where this information came from. Here's where that information came from. That is essential to making sure that you're establishing your credibility with your reader. And then the citation will allow the reader to go look at the documents if they want to. So I do this for most papers. I will go in and I'll start checking the references provided by the student. And if it doesn't take me where it needs to take me, or for example, the in-text citation, the part in the narrative, in the writing of the essay, doesn't connect directly when you include that citation to the references that you include on either your works cited or references page, depending on whether you're writing in MLA or APA style, then I begin to worry about whether this information is accurate and whether the student did all of the required research necessary. So those are the basic 4 reasons why we cite. We typically do not cite something that is considered broadly common knowledge. I'm going to talk in more detail about what common knowledge means. But it doesn't mean that if let's say you're a dental assisting student, or you're a nursing student, or you are a computer science student, whatever the case might be, and things that you just happen to know because of what you do with your time, how you spend your day, things that you have picked up, doesn't necessarily mean it's common knowledge. In fact, almost certainly it's not. And so even when you are writing things that you know off of the top of your head, you still need to tell your audience, you need to give your audience, your readers, the information that they need to know that you are providing credible, reliable information. So this is how, I mean, there are different ways of describing common knowledge, but this is how Harvard University describes common knowledge, and of the definitions I've seen, this is the one I like the best because it's simple, it's easy to understand, and we're going to talk in more detail now about identifying common knowledge from things that are not common knowledge, so you know when to include or go seek a citation. I have tried here to be very simple. It is common knowledge now that the Earth is round and it revolves around the sun. Okay? That is common knowledge. It's been proven over and over and over again. Everybody knows it except for a handful of flat earthers. So if you were to just say in a paper, the Earth is round and it rotates around the sun, you're fine. You don't need to cite that because that is common knowledge. However, if you're getting into details that aren't common knowledge, whether it's the rotational speed of the Earth as it revolves around the sun, or more detail than just a well-known broad-based fact. And what I've added here is because we're going to be using honeybees as an example. So this is now things that if you're a beekeeper, you know, but it is not common knowledge out there. And so you would have to provide a reference for that information, which includes how the bees know how far they are from the sun at any given time. I don't understand that at all, but there apparently is documentation that that's true. Common knowledge is something that you don't use very often. If you have a whole paragraph or a whole section of stuff that is just listing information or claims of fact, probably you'd better have a lot of research references cited in the text to support the validity of that information. Here's an example of some of the things that I'm beginning to see more frequently in papers and essays. And so it's this collection of information that probably is true, that among certain sectors of the population, it's considered common knowledge because they do bee stuff. But generally speaking, an educated person would not know this information. And they certainly wouldn't know it to the point that they can be specific about the data. And so this paragraph, and I encourage you to pause the video and read it completely, but this paragraph would cause me some concern, and I would put in a comment, a note on the paper saying, okay, this probably is all true, but where did it come from? Where did you get your information? What's your research source for each significant fact claimed here? If you write it just like this, that's not good enough. So make sure that anytime you are including a claim of fact that isn't common knowledge, cite it. So what I've done here is I have rewritten that paragraph with the necessary research citations. So you can see here there is a little more detail provided, and in each case where there is a significant claim of fact made, I have included a citation to the appropriate research, and those citations will allow me to then go down to the references or works cited page and connect one with the other. And if I want to go look at that, and often I do when I'm grading papers, I'll go down and find that citation, go down to the reference, find the website or the journal or wherever it is, and make sure that it connects. And if I can't easily go from the in-text citation, what I'm showing here, down to the references or works cited and then to the original source, then there's a problem in the process. So this is what that prior paragraph should have looked like. Again, I'd encourage you, pause the video, read it through, see the difference. Go back and compare. One other thing that you need to do is you need to make it clear which information is supported by which research reference. And so sometimes you can just start a paragraph out by saying, essentially, in a maybe a more clever way, but essentially, all of the information following in this paragraph comes from this source. Write it in such a way where it's very clear that everything I'm about to say is from this source, and here's where you can find that source. It takes me down to the references or works cited page. I can then use that information to go find it if I want to read it. Another way to do it, and I like this way a lot, particularly in this case where it's one source, but it's different, it's coming from different parts of a research paper. Here, what I have done is used bullet points to summarize each of the main claims of fact, and each one, as you see, is connected to a different part of the same reference source. And so this is another way to do it. It's not complicated. I think using lists and bullet points is a great way to go, particularly for some of the longer assignments we do. If you get beyond about 1,000 or 1,500 words on an assignment, you might want to think about doing this kind of bullet pointed summary. There are specific styles for doing this provided in both APA and MLA style books. And so you don't have to buy a style book. Go to Purdue OWL, or just go onto the internet, go onto Google and say, how do I create a bulleted or numbered list in MLA style? And you're going to get to, you might get right to the MLA homepage. You might send you to Purdue OWL. Everything that you want to know as far as style, format, and even how to write certain types of essays can be found on Purdue OWL. It is by far and away the best source for how to write English compositions in an academic style. I used it myself when I was a student not all that long ago, when I was in graduate school about 7 or 8 years ago. Purdue OWL was my best friend. It needs to be your best friend too. One thing to keep in mind, and that is you cannot oversight. When in doubt, find a source that supports the claim of fact, cite it, include it in your references. It doesn't take that long to do. It will add credibility to your work. It will help you formulate your own ideas because you're getting information directly from research sources. It's just the way to go. So please, when in doubt, cite a source for every single significant claim of fact.